You know how instanced objects appear in boldface type in the stack. Changes you make to an instance affect all of the other instances. Here we have 3 chair instances. I would call these geometrical instances. It's possible to instance materials, and you can do that by opening the browser and going to the scene. Here I can drag out a material from the scene and bring it into the editor. When I do that, I have a choice whether I want to instance or copy the material. If you copy the material is cold, meaning it exists only in the editor now. It's not linked to the material over here in the scene. That means that changes that I make to it here have no bearing upon this chair that has a brick material on it. On the other hand, you can choose to instance a material into the editor, and this is generally the preferred method. In that way, the material is hot, meaning that it's linked or instanced to the material in the scene. You can assign individual materials to individual instance objects. Here I've assigned this oak material to this chair. But oftentimes what you'll want to do is assign the same material to all of the instances, to all of the geometrical instances. And you can do that up here by choosing Propagate Materials to Instances. In that way, if I assign this oak to the chair, it propagates to all of the geometrical instances, so that we see that oak material everywhere we have this kind of chair. You can also copy and instance materials and maps within the editor by dragging. For example, the default behavior is copy. So if I take a material here and drag it over and drop it into the adjacent slot, I'll be copying it. So both of these slots now say 03 default. If it's possible to make an instance, you'll be alerted by a little dialog box that will pop up giving you the option of copy, instance, and sometimes swap in the case of maps. Dragging a sample slot can have a different meaning, and to demonstrate this, I'd like to change the sample geometry that's shown here in the editor. This button is a flyout, and it gives you different options for preview objects. Here's a cylinder, and here's a cube, and there's even a mystery object which I've assigned as a teapot. And if you want to do that, you can go to Options, and select a max file right here. By default, this will just be blank. And what I did is I created a teapot and I saved it in a file called teapot.max, and then I just loaded it in here. Now, whenever I choose this option, I see that teapot here. This can be useful for certain materials that you need to really look at the curvature of the object carefully to analyze. Now I can double-click on this slot to enlarge the window. If you right-click on the slot, you get a special menu, and here you can choose to change the behavior of what happens when you drag. As I said, the default is drag copy. If you change that to drag rotate, then you can rotate that sample geometry right here in the slot. You can also toggle on the backlight, and for transparent materials you can toggle on and off the background.